is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports, where today I tell you it's just the very beginning. Welcome in. We are live here on this Wednesday. We've got a lot to get to, including the possibility of 14 consecutive wins for the Atlanta Braves. Grant McCauley going to join us here in a little bit. Make sure you guys give us a follow on Twitter at LockedOnATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno, and of course, hashtag today, Sleeveless Radio. Pat McAfee, you got nothing. All right, we got a lot to get to. And let's start with Falcons training camp, or mini camp, I should say, because I was out there yesterday. And, it's interesting as it was kind of a weird day. They were supposed to get practice started. As soon as they get out there and stretch, all of a sudden these storm clouds roll in. It hadn't even started raining yet. They pull everybody off the field. They wait for the lightning to pass. It ends up pouring down rain. It was a very uncommon sort of day, and then they finally get practice done at the end of the after the rain delay at the end of the day and everything else. And a couple of just, I guess, sort of observations, at least from my standpoint. Again, I told you what I was looking for yesterday. And I did have a close eye on Desmond Ridder. And initial reaction was just simply that he still needs to develop more, right? Marcus Mariota isn't exactly an accomplished passer in the NFL. And I don't say that as a pejorative. I just say it as a statement of fact, based off of what we've seen and the data that we have on his career. He's not the most accomplished passer. And there is a clear difference between him and Desmond Ridder when they throw the ball. I think you could see it. It's obvious. Even though it's 7-on-7 and there's no pads. And, by the way, I was wrong. They don't put on pads during minicamp. So I apologize for saying that yesterday. So anybody who's listening, my mea culpa. But they won't put on pads during minicamp, not even for one day. I forget when that changed. I just, minicamp is like one of those things where, again, and I haven't been out there in 2 years, so full disclosure, I haven't really taken note of when they're throwing pads on. But regardless, anyway, even though there was 7-on-7, you can see how much there is a difference between Mariota and Ridder. There's just a little more polish with Mariota, and a lot of that is just experience, right? Like there's nothing wrong with admitting that a quarterback who's been in this league for 7 years now, 8 years, whatever it may be. I forget when he came out, but regardless, been in this league for a long time, is a more polished passer than a kid who has yet to take a snap in anger in an NFL uniform. So I understand that. There's just some ways you could tell some guys come out and they look a lot more polished, and Ridder's not there yet. And that's okay. It really is. Like, we have to, even I have to, as much as I want to see what Ridder is, as much as I want to see how he plays and what sort of level he has, I am very much understanding that you see it, you acknowledge it, and go, okay, let's not start expecting this to be ahead of where it should be at this point in time, right? If you take a Felipe Franks or you took a Josh Rosen who was here, or whatever it may be, and you saw them struggle, you'd go, oh, well, that makes sense. It should be the same thing for Ridder. We're going to have a lot of expectations for him. And I'm not saying this young man can't handle it. What I am saying here is that the coaching staff knows better, and the coaching staff understands, regardless of expectations from fan bases, media, and everybody else, that their first priority is to, one, do as much as you can to win as many games as you can, and then two, continue to develop all the talent on the roster across the board, right? Like, that is inherent in their job. So that's where they are right now, at least my initial takeaways from the practice yesterday from a Desmond Ridder standpoint. I think you see some of the younger guys. I looked at Arnold Ebiketie. Looks like it's hard to tell what kind of player he's going to be or how much speed they have and things of that nature. But, looks like everything you thought he was going to be. Same with Drake London, big guy, I mean, his size is undeniable. It's going to be a factor. Let's just see how they use it. And really, I was overall looking at the tempo and understanding what that was. And one of the things I want to look for today, again, full disclosure, again, recording this before I head out to camp. But I want to just look for the level of intensity and how they're going to ratchet that up and how they're going to push that to get to a better spot than it was, or a more increased spot than it was yesterday. Because generally that's what coaches try to do, is ramp up the intensity a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and see where they can go from there. So, and once you get out there, and again, I kind of have to also remind myself, like, hey, it's you. I even have to pump the brakes on where we are in the offseason because we're just not very deep into it. There's going to be a lot of things that'll change, and you still have a lot more bodies to figure out what they can and can't do by the time the middle of training camp rolls around, right? So let's, again, one step, one day at a time, figure out where this is going to go. But I'll continue to keep my eye on Ridder and how he looks, and continue to look at a variety of different players and just try to pick up on as much as I can out there. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Braves win again last night. They now have 13 in a row. They will go for the sweep of the Nationals and 14 in a row tonight in DC. It's been impressive to say the least. And I will say this again to everybody who's saying that it's against the Pirates and the A's and the Nationals. These are all bad teams. Folks, the Braves did not choose this schedule and for all these bad teams to be put together back to back to back. They did not choose it. They did not ask for it. This is where it was. It was there before they started their first pitch of the season. It was there when they were 5 games below 500. It was there when they got close to 500 and lost again. It was there when they hadn't had a winning streak longer than 2 games. So they didn't choose this. So stop saying it's against bad teams. So what? Oh, by the way, in case you didn't notice, earlier in the year, they were losing to bad teams like the Reds, like the Marlins, like the Nationals. And now they're beating bad teams. So I don't know what the hell anybody is complaining about. Like, it really is head scratching that there's a single Braves fan out there who's complaining about winning 13 in a row. Like, if you don't understand how hard it is to win 13 consecutive games in Major League Baseball, it doesn't happen every single year. There's not a team that pulls off this winning streak every single year. It is very, very difficult. Okay. And you should just respect the streak, as they say in baseball circles. Speaking of respect, our next guest will deserve nothing but the very best of it. He's the best baseball man in this city and part of our Braves postcast right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Greg McCauley going to join us next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. We'll be right back.